Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 6 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order, and I just want to make a couple comments. The noise you're hearing in the ceiling is the wind coming off the lake and making something just rub against something or other up on the roof there, but it's not going to collapse. It's the building's only the building's only about 16 years old, so. But Brad assures me that we're safe in here. So thanks, Brad. So I will ask the clerk for the roll call, please.
Good evening, Your Worship. All members are present.
Thank you very much. Item number 3 is review and revision or deletion to the agenda. Does anything need to be added or deleted from the agenda? Seeing nothing, I've got a motion be resolved that City Council approves the agenda as printed. Moved by Councillor Jelly, second by Councillor Foley. All in favor? That is carried. During disclosure of pecuniary interest in general nature, I'll ask the clerk for any comments.
Thank you. Councillor Foley declared a conflict of pecuniary interest related to Section 19, closed session, item B, under Section 239(2)D of the Municipal Act related to labor relations or employee negotiations, as his father and sister both work for the City of Temiskaming Shores.
Is there any other conflict of interest tonight that people want to bring up at this point? If not, we'll move on to the review and adoption of the council minutes. I got a motion be resolved that City Council approves the following minutes as printed. A, the regular meeting of council held on November the 17th, 2020. Moved by Councillor Whalen, second by Councillor LaFerre. Any comments on that set of minutes, errors, omissions? All in favor? That is carried. Public meetings pursuant to the Planning Act, Municipal Act, and other statutes. Tonight we have a zoning bylaw amendment, ZBA 2020-03 for Stephen Ronald, the Sharp Rock Developments, and the land in question is 333 Rourke Avenue in Hillbury. And I'll now declare this meeting scheduled tonight to be a zoning bylaw amendment application, and the Planning Act requires a public meeting to be held before council decides whether to pass the bylaw adopting a proposed amendment. And the public meeting serves two purposes. First, to present to council and the public the details and background to the proposed amendment, and second, to receive comments from the public and agencies before the decision is made by council. So I now declare this meeting to be open and to be a public meeting pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act and the zoning bylaw amendment. Like I said, it was ZBA 2020-03 with Steve Ronald and the Sharp Rock Development. And the purpose of the application is to rezone the property from community facilities to high-density residential to permit the alterations, construction of a multiple residential unit. Thank you. Get my tongue working. So I'll now ask Shelley Zubert, Corporate Services, to present the application.
Thank you, Mayor Kidd. As mentioned, the zoning application is ZBA 2020-03. The agent or applicant is Steve Ronald, who is here tonight if there are any questions following the presentation of Sharp Rock Developments. The subject land is 333 Rourke Avenue, the former Hillbury Public School. And the purpose of the amendment is to rezone the property from community facilities to high-density residential to permit the development of residential units in the former Hillbury Public School. The next slide shows that the subject property is the entire block between Rourke, Russell, Georgina, and Cecil in Hillbury. Another slide with the aerial imagery from CGIS. The official plan designation currently is residential neighborhood, and this allows a mix of low, medium, and high density housing types. All uses will be appropriately zoned, and all uses will be subject to a site plan control agreement. Current zoning is community facilities. As you can see, there are multiple permitted uses. Not included in the list would be residential. So the proposed zoning would be a high density residential to permit the construction or the alteration of the former school to allow for multiple residential units, 5 or more. So the planning analysis, the provincial policy statement represents residential intensification that is supported by the PPS, in that it is a conversion of an existing former institutional use to supply a net increase in residential units on the property. As such, the proposed amendment is consistent with the PPS. There is no conflict with the growth plan for Northern Ontario, and as said, the City of Temiskaming Shores official plan is this subject property is located in the settlement area in Hellebury and is designated a residential neighborhood, and the proposed development conforms to the city's official plan. Additional information, so the public meeting was advertised in our Temiskaming Speaker on November 11th. The application was submitted to or circulated to staff with no comments or concerns, and as well there was no comments or concerns received from public agencies or members of the public. The next steps will be an administrative report presented to Council on the 15th, as well as the bylaw. Are there any questions?
Steve Ronald and his daughter made the trip up through all this bad weather, so I appreciate you coming up there. And if you want to say a few comments there, you're open to say a few comments as well there, Steve.
No, I have no comments at this point in time. We're still in the initial stages of trying opening a school. Our architect and a bunch of our structural engineer are looking at the existing structure. So our plan is to utilize as much of the existing structure as possible. And right now we're preliminary plans are around 50 apartments. Any further modifications to my application will be done through the site plan control process, but we believe that we can meet all the requirements of parking and those on the site.
Any questions from members of the public sitting here tonight? Any questions from members of council tonight? Councillor Jelly.
Yeah, I really don't have any questions. I just want to thank you for taking the interest in our area. We certainly do need housing here, so thanks for picking Temiskaming Shores. So you're ready for our snow and all that? And I don't usually contradict the mayor, but I heard by a good source that was Santa Claus on the roof tonight. Just checking out.
Councillor Whalen, you had a comment or question?
Yeah, thanks very much, and thanks for coming up and being with us here. My question, I think it's a great idea. The only thing is it mentions 4 or 5 units. I'm just wondering, is the plan currently for the open space to remain open space? And the only reason I ask that is for future development, because I'm just wondering if we have ample infrastructure on Russell and Cecil to...
I think Steve's comment before was that he's planning on between 45 and 50 units. So there'll be 50 units possibly. So
will we be doing all the infrastructure together then?
Pardon?
The infrastructure will all be dealt with as a single issue.
But with multi-residential zoning, then he'll be able to go to the number of units. He'll just have to figure out how much room he needs for parking and how many spaces and all that process there. So.
We haven't met with the city engineering department yet for the there are on the street. Shelley did not help us complete the application at this point in time. And we believe that there is sufficient water, stormwater management in the area. And the remaining school year, we don't have time for it. Strictly dealing with the existing structure right now. We believe there will be additional land that I believe greatly about aging in place in land, and I hope to put some other housing units on the neighborhood property as well. A lower rise as well. Up to the market right now.
Other questions, comments? No, I think it's a beautiful location there. You have a beautiful view there of the lake and everything else. It's ideal for that location there. So I wish you well, and anything we can do as far as council and staff, we'll be pleased to give you a hand there and try and get things set up for you there. If there's no further comments, I'll declare this portion of the public meeting to be closed and advise that council will give due consideration for all comments received in writing or in the public And the administrative report will be considered by council on December the 15th, our next council meeting. So appreciate you coming up. Appreciate that very much. So enjoy your stay tonight and safe travels back tomorrow. So we reached our first question and answer period. Anybody got a question of council at this point? Or reserve it to the second question and answer period. So tonight we also have a presentation. Bridget Wilkinson, the Temiskaming Shores Public Library Board Chair, is making a presentation on the strategic plan for 2020 through 2025. Bridget, the podium is yours, and we'll get Kelly to put a microphone on. All freshly sanitized and COVID-free.
Thank you. Last time I stood at this, I was defending driving while using a handheld, so this is better. So I'm here in my capacity as the chair of the Temiskaming Shores Public Library to present on our strategic plan for 2020-2025. Now, clearly we developed this pre-COVID, so here we go. Next slide. In 2019, we began the process of updating our strategic plan, and the planning committee was made up of library board members, including Jessica Cooper, Claire Hendricks, Jamie Lindsay, Anna Turner, myself, and our library CEO, Rebecca Hunt. The board also enlisted the help of consultant Steve Krause from the Ontario Library Services North, and the committee met several times throughout the year reviewing the previous plan, data and input gathered from library users over the previous year, and various planning documents such as a pest and SWOT analysis. As mentioned, as a member of the Ontario Library Services North Network, which has since amalgamated with the Southern counterpart, we were able to take advantage of the free consultation services assisting with our strategic plan at no additional cost to the ratepayer. Next slide, please. Typically, the library undertakes a 4-year strategic plan cycle, but because the library would be going through a major transformation, moving into a new location, and consolidating our 2 branches into one primary location with a satellite location at Northern College, we decided upon a 5-year time period for the strategic plan cycle. And this turned out to be quite beneficial given the wrecking bar of COVID-19 on budgets and planning this year and into next year as well. Next slide, please. The board updated their mission statement to reflect what services our public library was already providing in the community, and the indisputable role the library plays in the social welfare, educational advancement, and well-being of our community. Public libraries are not just a collection of books on shelves, but they're a community hub, providing exam invigilation services, access to internet and other technology, and a safe space for all, whether or not they can afford a membership. Next slide. Our vision statement also underwent a similar overhaul to better reflect the role that public libraries play in communities in general and ours in particular. Next. We decided to focus on 4 strategic priorities for the next 5 years. Our previous strategic plan was focused primarily on bricks and mortar, evaluating our buildings at the time, planning for new buildings, or renovating other spaces. In this plan, we focused instead on how we can maximize that space through programming and outreach, but also as an opportunity to reinvigorate interest in the library and educate our community on the resources available and community value added that the library provides. Next slide. The library's move into a newly renovated space provides an opportunity to connect with community organizations and individuals to enhance the use of that space. Given the amount of money that has been invested in renovating this new building, we wanted to ensure that we were maximizing the benefits to our community. This includes the expansion of usable public space, such as our computer terminals, programming room, study room, and digital creator space. This partnership with the Near North Mobile Media Lab, with its new funding model, envisions expanding the reach of the current digital creator space to include all generations and not just teenagers. Post-COVID, our new programming room will be available for community use and booking, which could provide a revenue source for the library, as well as meeting a need in our community for safe, reliable, affordable, and technologically supported meeting space. Post-COVID, we will also be reinvigorating our library programming and are reaching out to local organizations to enhance this. The library is not just a source of book learning, but mentorship, networking, and lifelong skills building. Next slide. One of the library services identified by the committee as being important to the community is technology services. The library has the opportunity in its new location to improve upon these experiences with the proper training of staff, members, and partnerships with projects such as the Digital Creator North project. In our budget proposal, we have prioritized staff training, and our staff training plans will review and target training for staff so that they are highly competent and engaged. COVID-19 has also drawn attention to the digital divide, an issue that the library has been addressing for decades. The library will continue to fill this significant gap in our community. Funding was once again secured to finance our internet costs, and we have sought grant funding to enhance the use of our computer terminals safely during COVID, and are continuing to seek out other sources of revenue to build on these goals. The library continues to support the enhancement of literacy with a variety of formats, including print and digital resources, to all members in our community. Some of the projects we have undertaken during this COVID time include story walks, which you may have seen either on the library and will be around downtown, and take-home letter writing kits and others. COVID-19 has strained our staff resources to provide these services at the time, but we are applying for grants to aid with our capacity to provide our typical programming in an online fashion. Next slide. As one of the larger libraries in the region, the Temiskaming Shores Public Library is well positioned to promote libraries and library services in the entire region. We are also benefit from our relationships and the financial contributions from contracting townships. Our goal is to improve our communication with these contracting townships so that we can ensure that we don't lose any more of them in the future, and ensure that they appreciate the value that their ratepayers gain from contributing to our library, and perhaps grow the reputation and use of our library, and from that, build our sale of out-of-town memberships, another source of revenue. Finally, our goal with this strategic priority is to increase our networking with regional libraries, to improve our services and maximize the benefit of each tax dollar allocated to library services. We understand how precious each tax dollar is, and our goal is to work to build efficiencies and promote and harness the existing resources in our region. And that's pretty much it. Any questions?
Thank you, Bridget. Questions, Councilor MacArthur?
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation. And I think the big story here is the public do have to get educated. We didn't spend that money for a new library for people to say, wow, who goes to the library now? We have to get out there, and I know you're going to be doing that. I remember years ago, Canadian Tire, they came out with a new saying, or more than tires, because that's all people thought Canadian Tire was.
Yeah.
So you've got all kinds of avenues to go down, and I think that once people grasp and find out what you're doing, just get it out there, promote it, and I know your staff and the committee will continue to do a good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we did have hopes to have a grand opening of the new building, but clearly we couldn't do that, but we will as soon as we can. Thank you.
Councilor Whalen?
Yeah, I get to cheat this second time I've seen the presentation. Thanks, Bridget. It's well done. In the old facilities, the biggest problem was they simply didn't fit the needs of the library service today. Mm-hmm. So now that you're in a fully accessible building, it's wide open. It'll be exciting to see what programs you're able to create and move forward with. And hopefully the public will come out and support you.
Yes, we're very excited. It's a wonderful new space, and if you haven't been in yet, I don't know why you haven't been in yet, so come on in. We're open on Mondays, by the way.
Six days a week.
Exactly.
So, other comments? Well, I just want to thank Rebecca and the renovation crews and Mitch and the board, as well as Councilor Whalen and Councilor Ferrier, who've been sitting on the board and giving direction there as well. And I think it's been a great project. I think I was in there about 3 weeks ago. It's a great looking facility. I got the grand tour, and it should meet all our needs, everything. So thank you very much. Appreciate your presentation tonight. We do have a resolution I'll read. Be it resolved, the Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores hereby acknowledge receipt of the Temiskaming Shores Public Library Board's strategic plan for the period ending or covering 2020 to 2025. So, moved by Councilor Ferrier, second by Councilor Whalen. Any last comments? All in favor? That is carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bridget, for coming out tonight there and making that. Thanks, Rebecca. So, we will move on to the item number 10, the communications. And 10A is a letter from Matt Smith, the Clerk and Director of Community Services for the Municipality of Meaford, and it's regarding Bill 218, supporting Ontario's Recovery and Municipal Elections Act, received on November the 9th for our information. 10B is a letter from Danny Whalen, the President of the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, and just announcing that Phenom is to hold its 2021 annual conference virtually. And all the presentations will be available on the website there to people can read over the next probably about 2 or 3 week period anyways. That was received on November the 17th for information. 10C is a letter from the Township of Larder Lake regarding support for the Municipal Finance Officers Association, the 1-year extension to deadlines in Regulation 588/17. That was received on November the 16th for information as well. 10D is a letter from Virginia Montamy, the Clerk for the Township of Evanchero, regarding support for 2021 rent freeze, the funding request. This was received on November the 16th for information. 10E is a letter from Carol Watson, the Clerk for the Township of Howick, support for lower interest rates regarding the tile drains loans, and that was received on November the 19th for information. 10F is a letter from Lisa Lear, the Clerk for the Township of Essa, regarding support for Bill 229 to protect, support, and recover from COVID-19 Act, and it's regarding Schedule 6, the Conservation Authorities Act, and that was received on November the 19th for information. And lastly, a letter from Brian Smith, the President of Gravel Watch Ontario, information regarding the aggregate extraction, planning, and rehabilitation, and that was received on November the 21st. We've got a motion be resolved that City Council agrees to deal with communication items 10A through 10G according to the agenda references. So, mover, second, Councilor Ferrier, second by Councilor MacArthur. Comments, Councilor Jelly?
Yes, so Your Worship, if I could, I would like to ask that item D, the letter from the Township of Evanchero, be brought back for support. As you recall, there was a letter on our agenda last weekend from myself as chair of the DSAB seeking relief for the rent freeze for our homes. And I had meant to bring it up at that time, but I inadvertently spoke to a couple others and missed it. So I would ask that that come back, please. E, Township of Howick, lower interest rates regarding tile drain loans. I'm not totally familiar with that, but I think we should have a look at that and bring it back if the council are interested in supporting that. And lastly, the Township of Essa, Bill 229 Support and Recovery Act under Schedule 6 Conservation Authorities. I've read that over, and I've actually also had a very concerned citizen call me about it. I think we should have a look at that and bring it back for consideration of support. Thank you.
You're bringing back that, even though we don't have a conservation authority in the area, or just what's your
Well,
thoughts on that?
it's a point of protecting Ontario, I think, more than anything. I don't believe we should be living in our own little sheltered area here. I think we've got to take a provincial and federal look at things, so I believe this would be worthwhile for supporting.
Just wanted to get your context on that. Councillor Hewitt?
Yeah, absolutely. Reiterating that, perhaps we don't have a conservation officer or authority in our area. We certainly have a huge resource called Lake Temiskaming. I'd also like both F and G brought back, Township of Essa, and I have a hard time understanding Bill 229, in light of the fact of the growing and more complex issues surrounding climate change and why, any new age or, government would actually put a bill in place, so I definitely want that brought back. But I'd also like the discussion and the correspondence from Brian Smith brought back in regards to the Gravel Watch Ontario. I think that's something that's we need to be concerned about as well, and just to keep that radar in regards to protecting Lake Temiskaming.
Okay, good. Any other comments? Chris?
Just for context, on the tile drain loans, would it be council's desire for us to do a little, to do some background work on that? So we currently don't have any tile loans anymore, and I believe it's because the interest rate is much higher than what farmers can get for through private financing now, where at one point in time the provincial tile drain loans were more competitive. But do you require some background information on that, or just bring that resolution back?
I know the tile rates used to be about 8% when you were paying 11-12% at the bank, so that was beneficial at that point, and then it dropped down, I believe, to 6%, but it's still quite a bit higher than what you can actually go to the bank and borrow money. So I mean, if they're proposing 2 or 3% in line with more of the line with their prime and that, then we basically want to support that resolution, I would think, from the Councillor Howick there. What's your thoughts, Councillor Jelly?
No, again, I believe we should support it. Perhaps loans can be received at a lesser rate now, but that's now. We don't know what post-COVID is going to bring on or anything else. So, I mean, I think a brief review of the background would be helpful, but again, I'm looking to the future here, just to make sure if it does revert back, and I believe they were talking about 4% in here, so that's certainly a drop from the 12 it was before. So I just, again, think we should support it as a good and a protective move for our people in the area and the province.
Just to give you a little bit of background, I sit on the NOFIA Board of Directors as well, and we had 2 applications to Northern Ontario Heritage Fund rejected in phase 2 that were actually tile drainage loans, and they have rejected those loans. They were for $1 million each. And we don't know, they've suspended all the programs from Heritage Fund right now till the new year, and looking at bringing out new programs in the new year. So whether that's going to actually bring back any kind of a tile drainage program with Heritage Fund or not is going to be up for discussion in the new year. So this may become very important if people are still trying to cover their costs for tile draining land up here. They may have to go back through Home Office tile drainage programs. So, okay, good. Any other comments? I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Item number 11 is committees of council, the community and regional. Motion be resolved that the following minutes be accepted for information. A, the minutes of the age-friendly community meeting held on September the 14th, 2020. And B, the minutes of the Temiskaming Shores Public Library Board held on October the 21st, 2020. We're mover and a seconder for that motion. Councillor Jelly, second by Councillor Foley. Any comments? All in favor? That is carried. Item number 12, the committees of council, the internal departments. I've got a motion be resolved the following minutes be accepted for information. A, the minutes of the building maintenance committee meeting held on November the 5th, 2020. Actually should be B instead of C, but the minutes of the protection first and property committee held on November the 5th, 2020. C, the minutes of the public works committee meeting held on November the 5th, 2020. And D, the minutes of the recreation committee meeting held on November the 9th, 2020. Mover and second for that motion. Moved by Councillor Whalen, seconded by Councillor Hewitt. Any comments on those sets of minutes? All in favor? That is carried. Any reports from members of council tonight? Councillor Jelly.
Just quickly, Your Worship, to advise council that DSAB we're well into the throes of budgeting and hope to have a budget to council by the end of January. We'll be meeting again shortly. Actually, we've had a few meetings this month, not necessarily concerning that, but other meetings I've been involved in. So we will be bringing that back. Just something that is not council related, Your Worship, but is certainly community related, and that we did lose Judge Bernstein this past week. Judge Bernstein was certainly a great mentor in our area and did a great job while he was here, and very well respected by the Law Society, and certainly myself as a retired police officer was respected by me for his decisions in court and his mannerisms. So our condolences go out to the family.
Thank you, sir. Other comments, reports? Councillor LaFerrier?
Thanks, Your Worship. I just wanted to say a few things with what's happening with the BIA. We do have a new BIA coordinator. I think we shared a little bit earlier that Sharon Reel is our coordinator. We've struggled with the BIA keeping a coordinator over the years. It's really nice to see that it's really blended in with the library employee. So having that full-time person split between the library and the BIA, I think is really going to help make sure that we have some continuity going forward and really supporting the businesses in the BIA. In saying that, we started the meeting tonight with Santa being on the roof. It is Christmas. We really do need to focus on shopping locally. We talk about COVID and the impact it's having, around the world. But here locally, our businesses really need us. And starting today, there is 24 businesses locally that are having the 12 days of Christmas. So 2 businesses each day we're going to be celebrating. The BIA is participating, with those businesses. So not only support, these folks, but the businesses in Halebury, in Diamond, really need our help. So.
Thank you, sir. Councillor MacArthur.
Yes, I'd like to ask Councillor Ferrier, is the theme of Moonlight Madness, is that gone now, or is any of the stores planning to stay open late on this Friday night?
Yeah, I don't think they've really talked about it through the BIA. I know with some of the challenges with COVID, the tree lighting didn't take place. However, we are running a little bit of a contest where businesses are going to be having lighting set up in their businesses. We're going to have a couple of judges go by, and there will be a trophy and a little prize to go out, but really encouraging folks to, whether they're driving by or stopping in and going through some of the businesses, to really tie that theme together. And the other piece is there's also, they've partnered with the library and doing a little bit of a storytelling, throughout the downtown. So, really, those things are happening. I'm not really sure about whether they're going to stay open late. I know some of them probably will, but I'm not sure that it's going to be everybody in the downtown core.
Other comments? Just a couple things I want to do tonight. I want to thank all the business people in Hillebury and whoever the volunteers were that put on the Night of Lights here in Hillebury last Friday night, and the drive-by for Santa. That was very, very timely, and I think it puts a little bit of cheer in some of the kids in the area there as well, so that was great. The other thing I wanted to bring up is the Finance Committee from the Temiskaming Health Unit has met a number of times, and they made a recommendation to the board last Thursday afternoon, I guess it was. So that'll be going to the Health Unit's board of directors in the first meeting in January. So hopefully we'll have a budget approved from the Health Unit by the middle of January. So no other comments. Is there any notice of motions tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to the new business. 15A is the approval to transfer surplus deficit funds to or from the Municipal Transit Reserve. And the motion reads, be it resolved that the Corporation of the City of Temiskaming Shores hereby directs the Treasurer to transfer any surplus deficit budget in 2020 to the transit to and from, for transit to and from the Municipal Transit Reserve. Moved or seconded for that motion, Councillor Jelly, seconded by Councillor MacArthur. All in favor? That is carried. 15B, approval to transfer the surplus deficit funds to or from the cemetery reserve. And the motion reads, be resolved that the Corporation of the City of Twisting Shores hereby directs the treasurer to transfer any surplus deficit budget in 2020 for cemetery to and from the cemetery reserve. So, mover and seconder, Councillor Whalen, second by Councillor LaFerriere. All in favor? That is carried. I'll keep making the treasurer happy tonight. 15C is the approval to transfer the current year surplus or deficit to or from the working fund reserve. And I got a motion be resolved that council for the City of Twisting Shores hereby agrees that any surplus or deficit from the 2020 municipal budget general operations be transferred to or transferred from the working fund reserve account. And further be resolved that the council of the Corporation of the City of Twisting Shores hereby agrees that any surplus or deficit from the 2020 municipal budget environmental operations be transferred to or transferred from the environmental water working fund reserve and or the environmental sewer working fund reserve account. Moved by Councillor MacArthur, second by Councillor Foley. All in favor? That would be carried. Moving on, 15D, approval to transfer gain on sale of surplus fleet assets to fleet replacement reserve. And the motion reads, be resolved that the Corporation of the City of Twisting Shores hereby directs the treasurer to transfer any gain realized from the sale of surplus fleet assets in 2020 to the fleet replacement reserve. Moved by Councillor Jelly, second by Councillor Foley. All in favor? That is carried. 15E, approval to transfer land lease and net land sales to the Community Development Reserve or the Economic Development Reserve. And the motion reads, be resolved that the Corporation of the City of Twisting Shores hereby directs the treasurer to transfer any land leases and net proceeds derived from the sale of municipal land and general operations to the Community Development Reserve. And further, the council directs the treasurer to transfer the net proceeds derived from the sale of industrial park land in economic development to the Economic Development Reserve. Moved by Councillor Jelly, second by Councillor LaFerriere. All in favor? That is carried. 15F, approval to transfer net fire mark and auto extrication revenues to the fire equipment reserve. And the motion reads, be resolved that the Corporation of the City of Twisting Shores hereby directs the treasurer to transfer the net proceeds derived from the fire mark agreement to the fire equipment reserve, and further directs the treasurer to transfer any funds derived from auto extrication to the fire equipment reserve. Moved by Councillor MacArthur, second by Councillor Foley. All in favor? That is carried. 15G, approval to transfer the library contracted services surplus to the working fund reserve. And whereas the contracted services with the Northern College did not proceed as per the approved terms of bylaw 2019-189 due to COVID-19, and whereas the college has returned the 2020 fee for service payment, now therefore be resolved the Corporation of the City of Twisting Shores hereby directs the treasurer to transfer the surplus related to normal library operations to the library surplus exclusive of the refund from Northern College in the amount of $17,049.08. Moved by Councillor LaFerriere, seconded by Councillor Whalen. All in favor? That is carried. I think that's all the transfers. 15H, the January to November 2020 year-to-date capital finance report. Everybody got a chance to go through that capital finance report. I got a motion, be resolved that Council of the City of Twisting Shores hereby acknowledge receipt of the January to November 2020 year-to-date capital finance report for information purposes. Moved by Councillor Ferrier, second by Councillor Daly. Any comments? All in favor? That is carried. 15I is Memo 021-2020 CS, the policing contract renewal, and that was deferred from our November 3rd regular council meeting for the presentation that we had last council meeting. The motion reads, be resolved the council for the City of Twisting Shores acknowledge receipt of Memo 021-2020 CS. The council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to enter into a 5-year agreement with the Ministry of Community Safety and Correctional Services for the provision of police services for consideration at the December 1st regular council meeting later tonight. So, moved by Councillor Jelly, second by Councillor Foley. Any comments? All in favor? That is carried. 15J is Memo 026-2020 CS, the Public Transit Infrastructure Fund. And I got a motion be resolved, the council for the city to restore the acknowledged receipt of Memo 026-2020 CS, and the council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to enter into an agreement with Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Ontario, as represented by the Ministry of Transportation for the province of Ontario for funding under the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, the ICIP, public transit stream, for consideration at December 1st, 2020 regular council meeting tonight as well. Moved by Councilor Ferrier, second by Councilor MacArthur. Any comments? All in favor? That is carried. 15K is Memo 027-2020 CS, the appointment of a wildlife control agent. And I got a motion be resolved the council for the city to restore the acknowledged receipt of Memo 027-2020 CS, and the council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to appoint Matt Howe with Temiskaming Nuisance Wildlife Services as a wildlife control agent for the city of Temiskaming Shores for consideration at the December 1st, 2020 regular council meeting later tonight as well. So, moved by Councilor Jelly, second by Councilor LaFerrier. Any comments? All in favor? That is carried. 15I is Memo 028-2020 CS, the Annual Accessibility Status Report. And the motion needs to be resolved the council for the city to restore the acknowledged receipt of Memo 028-2020 CS, and the council receives the Accessibility Status Report for 2019-2020 and directs staff to post this on the city's website. So, moved by Councilor Whaling, second by Councilor Hewitt. Any comments on that report? All in favor? That is carried. 15M, 029-2020 CS, the Bill 218, supporting Ontario's Recovery and Municipal Elections Act, the 2020 summary. And I got a motion be resolved the council for the city to restore the acknowledged receipt of the Memo 029-2020 CS for information purposes. Moved by Councilor Ferrier, second by Councilor Jelly. All in favor? That is carried. 15N, Memo 030-2020 CS, the appointment of council committees and council representatives to boards and committees. And I'll read the motion, and I got a few comments as well. So, be resolved the council for the city to restore the acknowledged receipt of Memo 030-2020 CS. The council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to amend bylaw 2019-001 for the appointment of council committees and council representatives to boards and committees for consideration at the December 1st, 2000 regular council meeting. Mover and seconder for that motion. Moved by Councilor Ferrier, second by Councilor Foley. Just a couple comments on that. In review of the current council commitments or appointments over the past couple of years, I've discussed with most of you what committees you were pleased to stay on, and whether you had any concerns with some of the other ones that you're on. And I had Kelly compile a list of attendance for most of the committees, so that took into some of my consideration as well. And for the most part, I think council are doing an excellent job serving the council and the public in representing all their interests. There are a couple committees like Age Friendly and Transit I'd like to see a little more commitment on to attend these committee meetings. Transit's one committee that we only have 2 votes, and Cobalt has 2 votes as well. So we can't afford to be missing one person when it gets around to voting on those. So in discussions with the Mayor, George Arthur, we sort of agreed that we would have myself sit as an alternate, and if one of the committee members was not able to attend, then I would sit in as an alternate, and I would have a vote as an alternate. But we know we still only have a maximum of 2 votes. So that was sort of our compromise that we looked at there. We still have 2 votes each, Cobalt and New Liskeard, or 2 Cobalt and Temiskaming Shores. And that we, hopefully we don't get ourselves in a situation where we have 2 Cobalt reps and only 1 Temiskaming Shores rep, and we end up losing a vote that we can't afford to lose. So. The other comments I want to make is that I know Danny's got some major commitments with Phenom, and I've tried to work with him to allow him to give him a little extra time to fill his role as president of Phenom. So I think Most of the council were pleased to carry on with their current commitments, and I'd like to thank Councillor MacArthur for his time as Deputy Mayor. And would like to recognize his perfect attendance records of all committee meetings and a 98.3% attendance at the council over the last 2 years. So that's quite a commitment, sir. So thank you. I look forward to working with Councillor Ferrier in the coming years as my Deputy Mayor. Welcome, Jeff. And a couple of things I want to bring up as well is that we normally provide a summary of remuneration for each public year. So I've got Laura Lee to prepare that, and well, maybe after this motion, we'll pass a motion to release that information to the public as far as what our remuneration was for 2019. So I think that's all my comments, and I'm going to pass this motion, then we can get into another motion maybe to pass the remuneration. So, all in favor of the motion that we just read there, that would be carried. And if somebody would like to make a motion that we release the remuneration, Councillor Jelly, second by Councillor Foley. Any comments, Councillor MacArthur?
Yes, so that would be the annual per diem for 2020?
2019, actually.
19, pardon, yeah, sorry. And also, what about attendance numbers of council?
Kelly prepared that for me. If council wants to see that, then we can add that to the motion as well.
Sure.
And we can release that information as far as the attendance, all the committees, and I think it's probably something the public wouldn't mind having interest in, so we can add that to the motion as well. So,
okay.
Councillor Jelly, you're fine with adding that to the motion, and Councillor Foley? So, okay. So we need a motion to approve the release of the 2019 remuneration as well as the 2019-2020 attendance records. Any comments? Councillor Whalen?
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that you're going to do that, because actually I was going to bring it up under the last motion, but it'll work better under this one. You know, changing committees around, I fully support that. I think it's good to get new blood in there. I appreciate you reaching out to us prior to as well. And I'll sit on any committee that you appoint me to and council approves, and hopefully do my best. Our committees are seriously suffering from lack of attendance. Lack of attendance. We have members of the public that are appointed to the committees that show up religiously to every meeting. I know what are we doing here, so it's a serious issue, and it's one that we should be dealing with, so I appreciate this motion.
Yeah, I mean, we're being paid a remuneration to come to council, we're paying remuneration to sit on these committees and make decisions on the behalf of the public there, so I think they deserve our attendance and deserve that we do as good a job as we can do, actually, in representing the public, and I think that they should be aware of what's happening, so I'm sure. Any other comments? Yes, Councillor Jelly.
Just a slight clarification, Your Worship, unless I misunderstood what you just said about remuneration. You said for council and for committees, we do not receive extra remuneration for committees of council.
No, the only thing we ran through, we added the attendance at the DSAB and attendance at health unit there too, which we are compensated for, the ones that are on those boards.
That's absolutely correct. I'm not arguing that point at all. It was just perhaps a misunderstanding of what you said. For normal committees of council, we're not. It's our annual.
Yeah. That's all part of our remuneration for sitting as a council member there. So okay. So clarify that. So I'll call the question. All in favor of that motion? That would be carried. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. 15O is the Administrative Report CS 046-2020, the Shared Building Services for Temiskaming. And I got a motion to be resolved that Council for this evening stores acknowledge receipt of Administrative Report CS 046-2020, and the Council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to enter a shared services agreement with the municipality of Temiskaming for consideration at the December 1st, 2020 regular Council meeting. So we're moving a seconder for that motion, Councillor Ferrier, second by Councillor Foley. I think that's worked very well in the last year, so we're going to extend that for another year. So all in favor? That is carried. 15P is Administrative Report CS 047-2020, the New Year's Eve and fireworks event. And I see we got Mark Desero here from the North Cobalt Flea Market, and Steve Langford's here as well. Just want to make a few comments there, Mark, so outline what we're doing. Yeah, come on up to the microphone, sure.
All right, so before I talk about the event, I'd like to give you the reason why I want to do this. Especially after this year with COVID, it's been a tough time for small businesses and especially the restaurant business. So for people who aren't in business, don't get it. Like if you're not in business, you just don't understand the stress that we've been going through this year. So that's one of the reasons. The second is to showcase the area. You know, we've got a beautiful lake and I feel like we haven't been taking advantage of it. So that's the second point. Third, well, it's obviously to promote my online business. And last but not least, it's to honor my sister-in-law who's been battling cancer. During these times, which was extremely tough on the family, and last week we found out her scan came out good, and she's cancer-free, so it was good news. So the event is on New Year's Eve, starting at 3 o'clock. I've rented a helicopter, and my social media girl will be, they'll be starting at the end of the point of Dawson Point, and they'll do a flyby, and they'll go around the shoreline all the way to the City Hall. And I've asked people to, do, whether it's a bonfire with their family, or skiing, or snowshoeing, any outdoor activity that this area promotes. And then at 8 o'clock's the big show, where I've given a firework to each household on water who requested one. And then I also gave them a sheet for those who wanted to add to the celebration. So at exactly 8 o'clock, everyone will light their firework and the whole bay will light up. And I've got a drone, which will be videotaping, and there's going to be a live feed, and that's pretty much it. So for safety measures, I've got a consumer fireworks safety sheet, which details all the things you need to know about fireworks for the ones that have never lit them before. I'm also going to make a step-by-step video about how to light a firework. Liability, while I'm delivering the fireworks, I'm going to be handing out a waiver which they'll have to sign. It's this way here that they'll be assuming all damages or whatever else injuries that can happen. My corporation will also has liability insurance, and I guess that's about it.
Okay. Councilor MacArthur, comment?
Yes. Will you be meeting with our fire chief to go over the rules on that first? Just to check with him?
Yeah, I've talked to Steve. And,
okay, good.
Went over the scenario.
Beautiful.
Okay. Other comments? Councilor Herder.
Hey, Mark. I'm really glad to hear you got some good news for the family. And I can't wait till New Year's Eve. I think it's going to be a great event. And thanks for taking the initiative. And like you said, we need to support each other through this tough time. Social distancing, it's a way that people can still celebrate New Year's, and be able to social distance and have a lot of fun. So thanks for your initiative. Really appreciate it.
Perfect. Thanks.
So, Councilor Jelly.
Yeah, just once again, Mark, thanks for stepping forward. You do a tremendous amount of volunteerism for this city, and believe me, it doesn't go unnoticed. So my other comment would be, could we possibly put Mark's safety sheet on our website so everybody can have the chance to read it there also? Sure. Good. Thank you.
Okay.
Councilor Whelan.
Yeah, thanks very much for coming out. It's a great idea, I think. since it's going to be retailed through the market, I think, if you read the instructions, the end user is responsible. But regardless of that, I certainly hope, and I know that our city employees will be able to give you any advice, and they're great people, and they'd be willing to work with you as much as they can. So, looking forward to it.
Thanks, Mark. I imagine there's going to be probably some volunteer firefighters out that evening as well. So the next thing is to recognize some of the volunteer firefighters. So we'll deal with that in a few minutes as well. But we do have a resolution here, and I'll read it, and we can pass it. Be resolved, the Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores acknowledge receipt of Administrative Report CS 047-2020, and the Council hereby agrees to allow the New Year's Eve fireworks event coordinated around Wabi Bay by dealcrashers.ca to take place at 8 p.m. on December 31st, 2020, as per the Fireworks Bylaw 2009-161, Section 3.3D. We're moving to seconder for Councilor Ferrier, second by Councilor Foley. Any comments, last comments, Councilor MacArthur?
Yeah, I just want to say, Mark, just to use the media. I'm sure they're going to help you, CJTT and the speaker, get it out there. And I think people, once they read about it, I think they're going to get excited. So use your media. I'm sure they'll cooperate with you.
Thank you. I will call the vote. All in favor? And that is unanimous, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate your efforts, sir. Moving on to 15Q, Memo 004-2020 PPP, the Volunteer Firefighter Recognition. And I'll start reading the resolution, and then I got some comments, and Steve's got some comments as well. Be it resolved, the Council for the City of Temiskaming Shores acknowledge receipt of Memo 004-2020 PPP, and the Council extends their gratitude and thanks to the volunteer firefighters and their families for their continued commitment and service to the community, as well as to their employers for accommodating time away from work to attend the emergencies. And I'll read my comments first. And every year it's been our privilege to attend the recognition banquet, mingle, and thank all the volunteer firefighters. It's a great evening chatting with retired firefighters, new recruits, and everyone in between. These are the people that provide our fire protection service that is second to none for all our residents and businesses in the city. Between the employers and the very understanding spouses, they all need to be recognized for the invaluable service that they provide. This group of volunteers is just one more reason that this community continues to be the best place in the world to live and raise our families. And in this virtual world, this council would like to take the opportunity to thank each and every firefighter for their service and congratulate those getting awards here tonight. So I'll now invite our Fire Chief, Steve Langford, for the podium.
Thank you, Mayor Kidd, and all of council. November of each year, the fire department does host its annual awards and appreciation banquet for our volunteers. This year, with our COVID-19 pandemic, we did have to cancel the banquet. I too would like to take this opportunity to thank not only the volunteer firefighters, but their families, because it truly is a family commitment and a family affair. I'd like to thank them for their continued commitment and service over the past year. I'd also like to thank our employers who do allow volunteer firemen to leave the workplace to attend emergencies, our community partners who support the fire department each and every year. As part of the banquet, we also give awards for those firefighters who in this year did reach milestones in their career, and I'd like to make a brief moment here, just take a brief moment and announce those awards. Firefighter Dean Franks, 5 years service. Firefighter Kevin Udis, 5 years service. Firefighter Leo Jeffrey, 5 years service. Deputy District Chief Mitch Labarge, 10 years service. Firefighter David Barton, 10 years service. Firefighter Eric Plant, 10 years service. Firefighter Joel Plant, 10 years service. Firefighter Richard Trache, 10 years service. Captain Greg Drinkle, 15 years service. Captain Don Drinkle, 25 years service. Captain Richard Shaver, 25 years service. District Chief Jamie Shepard, 30 years service. Deputy District Chief Steve Belanger, 30 years service. Captain Dave Bowring, 30 years service. And finally, but not lost, Firefighter of the Mounts Plump, 35 years service. The commitment is second to none. We currently have 69 volunteer firemen, second to none. A huge thank you to all of them. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Fire Chief Steve. Appreciate that. Who would like to make the motion for that, move and second that motion? Councillor Jelly, in favor of that motion? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. If you wouldn't mind thanking all these people individually for us as well, Steve, and hopefully we'll get this on the press, the radio, and print there as well. So, as well, we have 15R, the Administrative Report PPP 012-2020, the appointment of another volunteer firefighter. And it's be resolved the Council for the City of Swiftling Shores acknowledge receipt of Administrative Report PPP 012-2020, and the Council hereby appoints Maglery Hoyle as volunteer firefighter to the City of Swiftling Shores Fire Department in accordance with the recruitment and retention program. So we're moving second, Councillor Whalen, second by Councillor MacArthur. All in favor? That is carried. Welcome to a new firefighter. 15S, Memo 018-2020 PW, the speed limit sign changes. And the motion reads, be resolved the Council for the City of Swiftling Shores acknowledge receipt of Memo 018-2020 PW for information purposes. Moved by Councillor Jelly, second by Councillor Foley. All in favor? That is carried. 15T is Memo 015-2020 RS, the ICIP COVID-19 Resilience Infrastructure Stream. And I got a motion be resolved the Council for the City of Swiftling Shores acknowledge receipt of Memo 015-2020 RS, and the Council hereby approve the submission of a funding application to the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, ICIP, the COVID-19 Resilience Infrastructure Stream, for the local government intake for the extension of the Staddle Trail from City Hall on Far Drive down to Albert Street. Moved by Councillor Ferrier, seconded by Councillor Jelly. All in favor? That is carried. 15U is Memo 016-2020 RS, the Inclusive Community Grants. I got a motion be resolved the Council for the City of Swiftling Shores acknowledge receipt of Memo 016-2020 RS, and the Council hereby approves the submission of a funding application to the Inclusive Community Grants Program funded by the Province of Ontario for a wayfinding project in the City of Swiftling Shores. For moving and second that motion, Councillor Jelly, second by Councillor Foley. Any comments? All in favor? That is carried. And lastly, 15B, Administrative Report CS 048-2020, the Site Plan Agreement for Arcade Road Developments Incorporated. And I got a motion be resolved the Council for the City of Swiftling Shores acknowledge receipt of Administrative Report CS 048-2020, and the Council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaws to enter a site plan agreement with Arcade Road Development Incorporated for consideration at the December 1st, 2020 regular Council meeting. Moved by Councillor Ferrier, seconded by Councillor Whalen. All in favor? That is carried. Just want to thank Shelley and the rest of the staff for helping get that put through. It's been quite a challenge the last week there, but hopefully they can get started in that construction tomorrow. So that's great. Item number 16, the bylaws. I think a motion be resolved that bylaw 2020-116 being a bylaw to authorize the borrowing upon serial debentures in the principal amount of $1,695,000 towards the cost of the Liskeard Library relocation. Bylaw 2020-117 being a bylaw to authorize an agreement between the Ministry of Solicitor General and the Corporation of the City of Swiftling Shores for the provision of police services under Section 10 of the Police Service Act, RSO 1990, CP 15 as amended. Bylaw 2020-118 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of the transfer payment agreement for the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, public transit stream between Her Majesty the Queen and right of the Province of Ontario, represented by the Ministry of Transportation and the Province of Ontario and the Corporation of the City of Swiftling Shores. Bylaw 2020-119 being a bylaw to amend Bylaw 2010-111 as amended, bylaw to appoint agents for the purposes of wildlife control. Bylaw 2020-120, being a bylaw to adopt an agreement between the City of Temiskaming Shores and the Municipality of Temiskaming for chief building official and building inspection services. Bylaw 2020-121, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2019-001 to appoint council committees and council representatives to various boards and committees for the December 1st, 2018 to November 30th, 2022 term of council. And bylaw 2020-122, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a site plan control agreement for RK Road Developments Incorporated. These bylaws are hereby introduced, given first and second reading. Moved by Councillor Whalen, second by Councillor Jelly. All in favor? That is carried. And bylaw, be it resolved that bylaw 2020-116, 117, 118, 119, 120, 121, and 122 be given third and final reading, be signed by the mayor and clerk, and the corporal seal affixed thereto. Moved by Councillor Ferrier, second by Councillor Foley. Any last comments? All in favor? That is carried. Scheduled meetings. And Chris just mentioned that we are having a special council meeting set up for December the 8th to cover our operating budget, and December the 9th as well to run through our capital. Is that what we're looking at? On the capital? Yes, on the December the 9th. And then after that, our next regular council meeting is set up for Tuesday, December the 15th at 6 p.m. And the next meeting will be in January 5th at 6 p.m. as well. So that's our next scheduled council meeting. So, second question and answer period. Anybody on the chat line or live got no questions? Any questions from the public? Any questions from council comments? Very quiet tonight. So we do have a motion. Be resolved the council agrees to convene in closed session at 7:15 to discuss the following matters: A, the adoption of the November 17, 2020 closed session minutes, and B, under section 239(2)(d) of the Municipal Act, labor relations or employee negotiating the collective agreement negotiations. So we're mover and second for that motion. Councillor Ferrier, second by Councillor Jelly. All in favor? It's carried. We are adjourned for the next 10 minutes, and we'll carry on with the closed session. So thank everybody for coming out, and thank everybody for joining us on live streaming as well. So.